I turned 65 last year. That was the big one. The official start of the late game, if you listen to the government or the pension companies. But I'm actually closer to 66 now. And having lived through the first year of seniority, I've actually realised something. I've realised that the world has a very specific set of expectations for us once we hit that number. It's like they expect you to just hand over the keys to your life and move into the passenger seat. They have this list of things that they think we aren't supposed to do anymore. Things they think belong only to the younger generation. And if I'm brutally honest, when I was younger, I probably thought exactly the same thing. But after the best part of a year of being 65, I'm finding that most of those limitations are complete rubbish. In fact, I'm discovering that this stage of life is where the real depth begins. And today I want to talk about 5 specific things that the world says we can't or shouldn't do after 65, and why at nearly 66 I'm either proving them wrong or I'm going to prove them wrong every single morning. The first thing they say is that travel is for the young and the restless. They think we're only suited for the all-inclusive resorts or the bus tours where you're ushered from one gift shop to the next. I think they've missed the point entirely. When you're 20, you travel to escape. When you're pushing 66, you travel to engage. I call it depth over distance. I don't care about ticking off 10 countries in 10 days. I care about the one place I'm standing in right now. I have the patience now that I didn't have 30 years ago. I can sit in a village square or walk a trail like this one and actually see the architecture of the place. I notice the way the light changes. I notice the history in the stones. You see more at 65 because you've lived enough life to have a frame of reference. You aren't just a tourist. You're a person who understands the weight of time. And that makes every journey more significant. The second myth is that our social world is meant to shrink into nothingness. I think you just get quieter and more isolated as the years go by. What I found in the last year is that my relationships haven't shrunk. They've just been audited. In my working life, I had hundreds of people that I had to be nice to for professional reasons. Now, as I head into my last 2 months of full-time work, that performance is over. At nearly 66, I don't have the time or the inclination anymore to pretend. This is the age where you can finally be a lighthouse, as I've said before. You can stand your ground, you can keep your standards, and you let the right people find you. Whether it's a long-term marriage or a new mate you meet on the trail. Connections at this stage are better because they're finally honest. There's no CV to maintain, there's just the bloke standing right in front of you. Before I get to the third point, which is about the mental engine, I want to mention the hype button. YouTube has built this little feature specifically for communities like ours. It doesn't cost you anything, but it tells the algorithm that this bloke's view on life after 65 is something people actually want to see. So if you're pushing 66 like I am and you're refusing to settle for the armchair life, hit the hype button. It helps me reach the men and women who might be feeling like their best work is behind them. The third thing they say you can't do is learn or change. They say you're too set in your ways by the time you're 60. Can't teach an old dog new tricks, as they say. I think that's a choice, not a fact. See, personal growth at 65, it's not about building a career. It's about maintenance. If you stop upgrading your skills, you start to become obsolete in your own life. I've spent the last 12 months learning more about filming, editing and digital storytelling than I ever thought I'd need to know. Not because I'm looking for a new job, but because capability is a standard that I refuse to drop. The moment you decide you've learned enough is the moment you start fading away. I'm choosing to keep the engine turned. Whether it's a new technology or a new way of thinking. Growth is what keeps you relevant to yourself. The fourth thing is they think we lose the capacity for real joy. They expect us to be cynical, grumpy and focused on what we've lost over the years. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not cynical or grumpy. I am, often. But I've realised that gratitude at nearly 66 is a tactical advantage. When you've spent 40 odd years in the grind, you stop taking the small wins for granted. I can get more genuine satisfaction out of a cold morning walk and a decent cup of coffee than I did out of big corporate wins back in the day. I'm not being soft, just being precise. It's about stopping long enough to actually notice what's good. You appreciate the light more because you've seen enough of the dark to know the difference. Joy at this age is deeper because it's earned. Finally, there's legacy. They talk about legacy as if it's a monument that gets built long after you're gone. Something for people to look at in the past tense. I think legacy is the blueprint you're leaving behind every single morning. At 65, nearly 66, I'm building the evidence of how a man should finish. I want my family and the people watching this to see a man who didn't ease off just because he reached a certain age. Your legacy isn't what you did, it's who you are right now. It's the standard that you've set. It's the fact that you still show up, you still hold the line, and you still take responsibility for your own life. My work isn't finished. I'm just getting started on the most important project of all, which is finishing properly. Now, if this all makes sense to you, stick around for the next walk. You might want to check out my video on why slowing down is the worst decision you can make at our age. Or why I think most people should have retired years ago. And whatever you do next, just don't slow down.